Hello, and welcome to the Success Showcase. I'm your host, Eric Lopkin from the Modern Observer Group. And with me, as always, is Chip Janiszewski from the Happiness and Success GPS. How are you doing today, Chip?
Yeah, doing great, Eric. Winding down towards the holidays. Can't believe they're here already, but we do have a nice blanket of snow today for the first time this year. We had a little dusting a couple of weeks ago, but we'll see if it lasts till Christmas. It hasn't the last few years.
Yeah, I don't think this is going to. Most of it over here is gone already, but we had a nice little, it's on the grass. It's got that nice little holiday look to it,
Yeah,
and yeah, the holidays are right around the corner. And that's actually what we're going to talk about is the spirit of giving and how important that is. And we've talked about this before, not just around the holidays, but we've talked about the book series, The Go Giver, which is a great example of this. And of course, we haven't talked about it on this podcast, but it's been a tradition on the Modern Observer Group blog and our sister podcast, The Raw Naked Truth, where we talk about an old editorial from the New York Sun titled, "Yes, Virginia, There is a Santa Claus."
I don't know if I've heard that one.
Really? Okay. Well,
Maybe I
it,
did. Maybe I forgot. It's been around a while.
yeah, I mean the New York Sun doesn't exist anymore.
Yeah.
But back in 1897, 8-year-old Virginia O'Hanlon wrote a letter to the New York Sun asking the question, is there a Santa Claus? And she wrote a letter to the editor, and the letter read, "Dear editor, I am 8 years old. Some of my little friends say there is no Santa Claus. Papa says if you see it in the sun, it's so. Please tell me the truth. Is there a Santa Claus? Virginia O'Hanlon." And the editor wrote back this heartfelt response that they printed in the paper. And I believe it's actually been turned into a Christmas movie at one point. But the letter read, "Virginia, your little friends are wrong. They have been affected by the skepticism of a skeptical age. They do not believe except they see. They think that nothing can be which is not comprehensible by their little minds. All minds, Virginia, whether they be men's or children's, are little. In this great universe of ours, man is a mere insect, an ant in his intellect, as compared with the boundless world around him, as measured by the intelligence capable of grasping the whole of truth and knowledge. Yes, Virginia, there is a Santa Claus. He exists as certainly as love and generosity and devotion exist. And you know that they abound and give to your life its highest beauty and joy. Alas, how dreary would the world if there were no Santa Claus? It would be as dreary as if there were no Virginias. There would be no childlike faith then, no poetry, no romance to make tolerable this existence. We should have no enjoyment except in sense and sight. The eternal light with which childhood fills the world would be extinguished. Not believe in Santa Claus? You might as well not believe in fairies. You might get your papa to hire men to watch in all the chimneys on Christmas Eve to catch Santa Claus. But even if they did not see Santa Claus coming down, what would that prove? Nobody sees Santa Claus, but that is no sign that there is no Santa Claus. The most real things in the world are those that neither children nor men can see. Did you ever see fairies dancing on the lawn? Of course not. But that's no proof that they are not there. Nobody can conceive or imagine all the worlds there are unseen and unseeable in the world. You may tear apart the baby's rattle and see what makes the noise inside. But there is a veil covering the unseen world, which not the strongest man or even its unified strength of all the strongest men that ever lived could tear apart. Only faith, fancy, poetry, love, romance can push aside that curtain and view and picture the supernal beauty and glory beyond. Is it all real? Ah, Virginia, in all this world, there is nothing else real and abiding. No Santa Claus? Thank God he lives, and he lives forever. 1,000 years from now, Virginia, nay, 10 times 1,000 years from now, he will continue to make glad the heart of childhood. So
Wow.
that was the editorial from the New York Sun in 1897, answering the child's question of whether or not Santa Claus exists. And I think while the language is very poetic, I really think what it comes down to is that Santa Claus is the spirit of giving.
Yep, absolutely. And basically, uh, what surrounds us as far as all of the negativity and skeptical stuff and whatever, that's something we've all developed in our minds. But giving is being, and that's where we all came from. And I mean, if you really go back to the foundations of Santa Claus, St. Nicholas, there really was a St. Nicholas. And basically, the story of him is he was a bishop probably 700, 800 years ago back. I can't remember what country in Europe. But when he was a bishop, there was this man who had 3 daughters, and back then daughters had to pay dowries to get married, or they're going to end up out in the streets and possibly as prostitutes. And what St. Nicholas did is, unbeknownst to the man or anybody else, he would go out at night with a little sack of gold and drop it in the person's window, that person's window, so that his daughter had a dowry to get married. And he did it 3 times for them. And then the word grew and he was going around, but unbeknownst to people, just dropping things in people's windows. And that's how he eventually became the chimneys type thing or whatever. But it all sprouted from unconditional giving. And somebody finally kind of caught him in the act, which he didn't want to get caught. That's what it's all about, is unconditional. And so that's what started the whole thing. And that's what was celebrated over in Europe that came over here. And it's funny, we're doing a little thing at Bible study at church talking about different Christmas stuff or whatever. But it started down in New York City as far as the Christmas type stuff goes. But it came from that giving episode. And even the book here, this Catholic church that I'm in, said it was started by Protestants. So it was basically, it comes from everywhere. And so exactly as you said, it's the spirit of giving, which has always been here and always will be here, even though our minds are going to be twisted as far as what this current event is and what's going on there and so on and so forth. There's always been something going on in life for us to analyze, figure out, and if we think it's wrong, disagree with other people about it. And what Christmas and what giving is all about is just taking that deep breath, realizing the good in everybody, because that is in everybody. And especially this time of year, just emphasizing that, dropping all the things that you want to complain about and criticize about, and just looking for the good in every moment, looking for the good in every person that you have. You know, I've talked about this before, we both have, is just find every moment, every day, find somebody doing something good day and celebrate that and throw everything out, because nobody's perfect. But where we came from, perfection is not demanded. It's just automatically there. We don't understand it. We don't think we deserve it, but that's reality. That's what we all are. So go to the mirror every morning, smile, and as I said before, give yourselves a high five, because the coolest person in the world is smiling back at you, and you deserve to celebrate yourself and everybody around you.
Absolutely. And, giving is not just about the selflessness. That's a big part of it. But when you give, you also receive. And the feeling that you get when you give is so amazing. And in fact, there was a study done, I believe about 10 years ago, and it found that the folks who were in the most need also tended to give the largest percentage of what they had because they understood what it was like to need something. So they would give as much as they could afford to. And the feeling they got back was, yes, even though I don't have everything I need, even though, I'm still struggling, maybe I'm not making enough money, maybe I have too much debt, too many expenses. The fact that even in that situation, you can still help brought people's spirits up. And we've talked in recent weeks. Actually, I've talked a lot in recent weeks on several podcasts and events about the fact that there is right now this epidemic of depression and anxiety. And something you can do is to give. I mentioned a few weeks ago that the Modern Observer Group has a year-end challenge that we want everybody to reach out to 30 people and just tell them that they're appreciated. Well, I've been participating in this challenge, and I have to say, I was completely unprepared for the amount of gratitude that I received just for a quick message, seeing how you're doing. And these weren't people that I suspected needed it or that I thought might have been depressed. They were just people I felt I could reach out to and let them know. And that gratitude has been overwhelming. It's been amazing. And this is what happens when you give.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, people, we've kind of been brought up quid pro quo. If I do something for you, you're going to do something for me and whatever. And obviously, with the way we have social media and everything else out there, and asking for this and asking for that, to get something out of the blue, which is just an appreciation message or how you doing type thing, it's just so important. And even if you're down, one of the things that you can do, I talk about the foundation for everything being a positive mindset, being an unconditional giver, having a passion and purpose and a plan. And the bottom line is they all are related to each other. And unconditional giving fuels a positive mindset. And if you just go out there in your day-to-day actions, tool number one, as far as a positive mindset, is just smile. Smile at people, smile at yourself, go out there and appreciate people. And just walking down the street or just looking at things and appreciating things with a smile. Take a look at the snow today. Brings a smile to your face, even though I'd much rather be in Hawaii in the tropics. But
Yeah.
appreciating what's out there is great. And just, if you're out shopping and this and that, whatever, you see people, just smile, have something nice to say to them, joke around with them. It's amazing what happens when you do that. And even if somebody's got a sour face when you start with it, very, very many times when I do that to people, they get a smile for that minute or they start talking back. And everybody can do that. Instead of thinking about all the negativity going on in your life or, what's the next thing, or I got to get here, I got to get there, and so on and so forth. Just appreciate the person you're in front of. Take a time out from life and do that and see what happens. And the way you're going to feel when you see that smile on that person's face, just like you're saying, or you get the response from them via whatever media you reached out to them, you can't put a price on that. And price is something that we invented. Feelings aren't. Feelings are there.
Yes. And, when you have that positive mindset, that in itself is a form of giving because people don't want to be around negativity. Negativity is contagious and so is positivity. And when you're providing that positive mindset, that break for somebody, in a hectic day when they're dealing with, everything in their world, having that source of positivity is a form of giving, and people do appreciate that. And it's so important, as you mentioned, to not just to appreciate what's around you, but take the time. I've done this on numerous occasions. I've probably talked about this on the podcast in the past, but it's a little mindfulness exercise that I tell people to try. And the first thing is you need to take the time to do this. You can't be doing anything else while you're doing this. And take a cup. And I always say it should be a ceramic cup, not a paper cup, not a plastic cup, but a real mug. And fill it with your favorite hot beverage, coffee, tea. I personally use hot chocolate. Fill the mug with that beverage. And before you drink it, just sit there for a moment, holding the mug. Feel the heat that comes through the mug. Smell the beverage. And then, take a deep breath, inhale the vapors, and then take a sip. And take the time to actually enjoy the beverage. So many of us now, we'll grab a beverage on the way out the door in a to-go mug or a paper plastic cup or something. Take the time to appreciate these little things. Something else you can do, that doesn't even take time, but we all do this on a regular basis and most of us never notice it, is appreciate the feel when you're stepping into a hot shower on a cold morning. We all do it, but we don't think about it. And when you start appreciating these little things, you want to share that feeling. And it makes you want to give that feeling of appreciation.
Yeah, I mean, awareness in the present moment is what you're talking about, and every little thing that's going on. We talked about having the positive mindset and influencing others with that and giving that to yourself to others. But that's also a gift to yourself. And the bottom line is you need to give appreciation to yourself in order to be your best self for others. And it's okay to do that. And so it's really, really important to realize that by doing that for other people, you're doing that for yourself, and it's coming from your true self, which basically has no words as far as what the outside world does. And that's what makes you feel so wonderful inside. You can't describe that either, but that's in all of us. And so it has to start with giving positivity to yourself, because that's really what springs everything else forward.
Absolutely. It's about being authentic, which, in the past we've talked about the book series, The Go-Giver, and the law of authenticity was one of those laws from that book. You need to be authentic when you're doing this. You're not giving out of a sense that you'll get something in return. The odds are you will, whether it's that wonderful feeling from giving or something, a favor down the road or something, but that's not the reason that you're giving. You're being authentic. And, talking about the book, The Go-Giver, the final law that those books talk about is the law of receptivity. And that's also very important because most people, especially when they start giving and they really do enjoy that feeling, they're a lot more comfortable giving than receiving. But if you're not going to be comfortable receiving, you're actually denying somebody else the feeling of giving.
Yeah, absolutely. And, the bottom line is we are ingrained from birth a lot of times, and it's really not our parents' fault or anything else, that we're just not worthy of stuff. And we become insecure with that. And when good things happen to us and somebody makes a compliment, how many times have you received a compliment and just left it off saying, oh, you didn't have to say that, this or that, or whatever, instead of just giving a sincere thanks, thank you, I appreciate that. And I mean, there's two ways to respond to that, and you deserve when people are doing that to you. So for you to think that you're not worthy of that is basically refusing to receive. And that's the toughest thing to do, is do everything from a giving standpoint. But if you don't receive, I mean, picture it as a circle. There's got to be a whole circle there. If you're not going to be able to receive, then something's falling out of the bottom of there. And what it is it's going to be your own personal positivity and self-esteem and everything. So appreciate that when people approach you. It's a lot easier said than done. I mean, you mentioned the word awareness, and that's all this is. It's an awareness. It's just the way the things are. You are meant to receive, and it's okay to do that. And that's what you feel inside. It's not what your head is telling you. Your head's saying, I'm not worthy. But sorry, that's
Right.
not the way things are. So just remember that whatever you're feeling inside, that's what's really there. And you mentioned, I mean, a great way to do that is just appreciate stepping in the hot shower, this and that, whatever, all these things that are out there that are positive that we don't realize unless we bring that up. We do listen to the news and look at the media every day and see everything that's wrong, but look at the things that are right. And they're a whole lot simpler. They're not newsworthy because they're so simple and they're there and they're so much more important than everything else that's going on.
That's so true. And part of being receptive to it. I noticed this a while back. I noticed it in myself, but also once I found it, I saw it in other people as well. How many times have you done something and someone says thank you, and your response is, "Oh, it was nothing," or "It's not a big deal"? It's like we all do that. And I've made a conscious effort to stop saying that and just respond with, "You're welcome."
Yep.
Because them saying thank you, they're showing gratitude, which in itself is also a form of giving. And we need to be receptive to it. So just say you're welcome, and don't try to say, "Oh, it's nothing. It was no big deal. I did, just accept the gratitude with a simple "you're welcome."
Yep. And you're welcome is just another way of receiving. It's
Yeah,
receiving their gratitude right back. So,
exactly. And that "you're welcome" tells them, yes, you're accepting their gratitude, you're accepting their giving, and it makes them feel better. It makes them feel good. And as you said before, it's a circle. You give, you receive, you give, you receive. And actually, I prefer not to think of it as a circle, more as a spiral, going upwards, because each time it goes around, it makes everybody involved in that circle feel better and feel good about themselves.
yeah, I mean, the spiral is just the circle that's rising.
Yep.
So,
So yeah, it's very important that you give, and that's something, especially around this time of year, people feel pressure about it. I was reading a story about this just the other day, that people feel a pressure to give just the perfect gift this time of year. And what should it be? And it actually causes stress to people. And using the law of receptivity, we should be removing that stress, because what you're being given doesn't matter. The fact that somebody is giving to you is what matters. And the fact that you are giving, it doesn't have to be perfect. What you're giving is a symbol of the fact that you're thinking enough of that person to make an effort and give. And that,
absolutely.
that
Yeah.
that's where the focus needs to be.
Yeah. And you know, as well as I do, and you folks out there, once you get in that mindset and you're on a giving role for a little while, everybody around you is influenced positively for that. And it's contagious. You know, we talk about viruses and this and all the negative stuff and whatever, but positivity, giving is a whole lot more contagious than any negative thing that's out there. And once you get on a roll with that, it's unstoppable. So I mean, basically what we're talking about here is just changing your mindset to automatic giving and looking for the good, as opposed to throwing out analyzing things and looking for whys and feeling really anxious about things. Just get back to simplicity, where we came from, how you feel when you give, and if you can react to every single present moment or know that you have a choice to do that, that's really what it's all about. Really, really simple stuff. You don't have to put it on a list or anything. Just do it.
And that's a great way to use this holiday season rather than all of the stress that tends to come around when you're traveling to see family and running around. And take the time to just appreciate those little things. And hopefully everybody will have at least a few days off during the holidays where they don't have to think about work and they can just breathe. And then when you do return to work and we start the new year, you're using this time to be refreshed and to reconnect and give yourself that fresh start for the new year. You know, we all there's a certain pressure that comes to with the new year. Oh, I have to, you know, make new resolutions. You don't have to do anything.
Yeah, it's
All
your own mind is telling you to do that.
ex-
It's we're programmed. That's the way it's always been.
exactly. And I mean, I like to use my New Year's resolution to figure out how can I do a little bit better this year than I did last year. You know, sometimes it's self-improvement, sometimes, you know, it's reconnecting with people. I'm pretty sure I mentioned earlier this year that for 2022 I made a New Year's resolution that by the end of the year I was going to listen to 100 audiobooks. Well, over the weekend I finished number 99, so I've got 3 weeks to get one more book in there.
Time for a vacation. I'm just kidding.
Guys, yeah. But you do these things not to show off and not, you know, because there's pressure to do them, but you do these things because these are a gift you give to yourself and you make yourself just a little bit better. So when you're giving other people gifts and giving to other people, don't forget to give yourself something as well.
Absolutely.
And this is going to be the last success showcase for 2022. We'll be taking the holidays off and we'll be back in 2023. We've already got some great guests lined up for the new year. But Chip, what do you think is the big takeaway, not just from today, but from all of the guests and all the topics we've talked about over 2022?
Oh, wow. I mean, we've had so many wonderful people and topics and so on and so forth. And, you know, I think just getting back to today's message, I mean, what this is all about is we are giving you our best every single week in the podcast and the best of our guests and so on. There's been a lot of great tips and so on that you've heard out there. You've heard a lot of stories about how people will overcome adversity. And, you know, what today is all about is giving. And it all starts with the person in the mirror. First of all, give yourself love, understand that we all came from the same positive source, and it's okay to appreciate yourself and be appreciated by others. Build that into your mindset. You got to make that a habit, and you're going to have your ups and downs. I mean, some days it's not going to work, but other days are. But a lot of life is just an awareness of what really is versus what you're exposed to all the time. So, what you need to take away coming into the next year is number one, the person in the mirror, we are all connected with each other through our hearts or whatever you want to call that. And that's all good. And what we are doing when we're giving our best selves to others is just helping each other do the best thing that they can possibly do too. And that's a beautiful thing and a positive movement that's not going to be covered in the media and so on and so forth. So you got to work on that yourselves every single day, every single present moment. And you will develop more of a positive mindset and spread that to other people. So have a wonderful holiday season, everybody out there. I hope you enjoy. Eat lots of food, and then don't worry about the diet until February.
Absolutely. I think for me, you know, the big takeaway from today is, of course, we need to be generous. It's part of our spirit and it's rejuvenating. we do need to give in order to receive, and giving, it's all part of that same cycle. For the overall year, I have to say, you always need to keep an open mind, because I have learned so much from our guests, and I hope our listeners have as well. And Chip, I want you to know how much I appreciate your doing this podcast with me. I've learned so much from you as well. And we always need to be aware of what's around us and see where we can take these lessons, even if they're little ones, big ones, because you never know where they're going to come from. So I wish all of our listeners a happy holidays. We will see you in 2023. And of course, you've been listening to the Success Showcase, and you can catch every episode at xvadio.com/podcasts, the Apple Podcasts app, Google Podcasts, Spotify, iHeartRadio, Stitcher, Amazon Music, Audible, and wherever you find podcasts. Remember, make this your best week ever and make next week even better. We'll see you next time.